Hello, I just received this package from Kleinn Automotive Air Horns. It is a fully bolt-on kit for the 2017-2018 Ford F250s and F350s. The kit number is a sdkit17-734. I'm going to open this up and show you what to expect. Okay, I went ahead and opened this package up, and this is what all is inside of the big box. You've got over here, you've got your air tank. This box, you've got all your accessories. It comes in that, your air kits. And I took the liberty ordering the sniper remote. And you got your horns over there, right there. Hoses, brackets. Okay, we're going to unbox the horn. They're in a box like this. This is what it'll be. We will be opening it up, showing you what's inside. This is what you will see. Go ahead and take those out. Set them down. There's the tubing, half-inch tubing that we have in here. More hardware, and the horn bracket that we're going to need to remount the big horn when you get them on the brackets. This here is the front horn bracket. You will be mounting these two tubes because they're this factory shipped only. You'll have to loosen these bolts to take them off this shipping plate. Then you'll have to take these air horns off. You'll have to screw those out. Just grab a hold and start twisting. You'll have to remove those. Lay those aside. And it does not matter, you won't have to mark large, small, or medium on any of these solenoids. It does not matter. All you have to do is just remount them, each one of them go to each one. So it don't matter which one goes to which. When you do that, you're ready to unbolt these and take them off of the shipping bracket. Okay, here's your horns disassembled. It took a 12mm socket and an open-end wrench that you're going to be able to reassemble these with. That's the hardware that comes with it. And you've got three different ones. This center one here has a T-valve on it, so you will be using that one. In the center over here, here's your horns, and these are the brackets that come with it. This here is a horn bracket that holds your major horn, the big one. These rubber pieces here will not be used. You can discard those to the side. You'll only use one on this T734 kit, and it will mount right there in the center to hold the big horn. So I will get these bolted up and show you what it looks like when it's finished. Okay, this is the final assembly when you get all the horns together on the mounting bracket. That's what it should look like. Okay, now we're going to mount the compressor to the compressor plate. You will need the compressor plate with this cutout towards you. That way you can mount the compressor with the head of the compressor in this direction, and use the supplied hardware with a kit to mount this up. Okay, after assembly, it should look like this. And make sure you torque the bolts down to 20 inch-pounds on the torque. Don't over tighten. Okay, we are going to assemble the air tank and the fittings to prepare this before the pre-fitting of underneath the truck. First thing you'll need to do is remove these red caps. They are in there to help protect the threads. Then you have your fittings here. Okay, when you finish assembling your fittings to your air tank, it should look like this. You should have these two fittings done together, and this 90 here, this fitting over here. Then you should have another 90 here with this fitting screwed into it. Then the air release one here, and your 1/4 inch tubing goes here. That will be all the fittings that you'll have and be completed together. Okay, on mounting your air horns brackets to hold your air horns up under the front end. This here is pointing the front of the truck. You will need to remove this nut. This is the passenger side, which is an 18 millimeter. Then this nut, you have two nuts here. You move the one for the far outside, remove it. It's a 15 millimeter. Save those because you will be reusing those. Then the bracket that you will be using looks like this. The angles toward the back. And it will fit on the rear stud and the front one, like so. Then we replace your nuts. Then for the 15 millimeter for the back, tighten these nuts back up. I am tightening the rear one first because it is at a slant and it will be pulling it up snug. Then you can tighten your front one down to hold it in place. On your driver's side, there's going to be a slight difference. You will have this harness in your way. It's going to be for your fog lights. You've got to pull it out of the frame, then undo it. Then you can mount your bracket. And your harness will go back through the bracket as so and re-clip and go back into the original hole that it was in. After mounting your bracket and getting it snugly tight back, you want to take your harnesses and go through the hole . Snap them back together and then go back in your existing hole. And you're done with the brackets at this point. Okay, this is the horn solenoid. You will wire your purple wire to the bottom terminal. Then your black wire as ground will be going to the top terminal in this picture, and the one on your left will not be used. Now the purple wire will go to the push button switch supplied with a kit, but my truck has upfitter switches, so I will be running that to that. You'll have a little bar bearer. You'll have to wobble it back and forth to get it pushed all the way in firmly. Then apply your nut back to the solenoid. With a 12 millimeter wrench. Continue to tighten it until it's snug. Do not over tighten it. Now the other end of your tubing will go in the solenoid itself. These are just simple push firmly until it seats all the way in, and pull slightly to make sure it has grasped it. Now we're ready to install the horns to the front of the truck. In this stage, you will need a 5/8 box wrench, 4 bolts, nuts, washers, and lock washers, and 11/16 socket to fit those. In order to install the train horn to the front, you will see these small slot. Your horn bracket will slide into that, then you'll go up on your bolts for the other side that I've already dropped through the hose with nuts and washers on them there. After positioning the brackets like so, you'll be ready to mount your air tank bracket. In mounting the air tank bracket, I run into a small problem. The heat shield protector for the spare tire from the exhaust has these 2 studs sticking out that won't let your bracket go all the way in. So it goes over to there to those studs, but it's flat and it will hit on these bolts. So I had to cut out those 2 slots in my bracket to make it work. On mounting the driver's side bracket, whenever you put the air tank bracket to the bracket on the frame, this bolt cannot go in because the cross member is in the way for that bolt. You turn the bolt backwards and have to cut the bolt down to the size of the fit between the frame and the brackets. I had to trim some of this bolt off to make it work. The other one goes in the way the instruction says from the back side forward, and this wiring harness comes through the 2 brackets. As you can see here, it runs between the 2 brackets, the wiring harness does, and pushes back in the original factory places. If you have one of these heat shields, you are going to have trouble getting your air tank above it. Your air tank sits right there. There is no room, as you can see. The exhaust pipe coming down, the heat shield, the tank is just too large to go up in there. The heat shield cannot be taken off and replaced the way the bracket for the air tank goes over the top of your brackets. Here's your air tank bracket. It goes on top. I had to end up slotting the holes in this bracket for those screws. So when mounting the air tank bracket, this bolt is way too long to go through the plating. It hits on the frame. I had to cut this bolt off to make it work between the 2, because you cannot turn the bolt backwards and put the nut in from this direction. The frame, the bracket, the extra bracket over here that bolts on to your frame does not allow enough room, and this harness going through the 2 brackets don't allow enough room for you to be able to get that bolt in from this, going this direction. In mounting your compressor, it goes right in. The bolt comes through the frame and hooks to, you can see right here, this is the bolt coming through, and it screws from the opposite side of the frame and holds it up against there. You need to be careful if you got a sensor line across the top, because the bracket does go up there. You do not want to pinch that line. I did not have one on my truck. Then you will need to hook up your braided line and run your electrical wires. When running the fresh air intake off of your pump, I run it to the inside of my bed. I have a topper on the bed, so it's clean of dust and debris and water. And I run it, and you can see the line running along this and going behind and through the hole. That hole goes down and comes out right beside your air pump. In running the electrical wires to the front of the truck, I come up the driver's side. You can see I come over the frame from the compressor and the solenoid on the air tank. I run those in a split plastic wire covering to help better protect those, and I run them all the way to the front on the driver's side. This is my 1/2-inch line running to the front of the truck to supply the air to the horns. The big one in this picture is the 1/2-inch air line, and the small one is a 1/4-inch air line running over to my air chuck on the quick connect on this side of the truck. As you can see, the quick connect coupling is mounted to the back bracket of the running board. I opted to have one on both sides where I could get easily air to both sides of the vehicle instead of coming straight out of the back. If you plan on hooking this system up with your upfitter switches, you will need an extra one of these solenoids. I went to the parts store, they had this, so I purchased a second one. You have to have two in order to hook through your upfitter switches. Wiring the relays to the factory upfitter switches, you have to use two separate relays, 1 and 2. Both of those will make the horns work properly. On wiring your upfitter switch to compressor, you can use whatever switch you like. I use switch 6 because in the relay box you can move a fuse over and have it to be on constant power without your switch key being on. Wiring your upfitter switch to your horn, it shows connect to terminal 30, post 86. I had to wire this to ground in order to get it to work properly. And you can use whatever switch you like here to operate this one as well.